Welcome back. This is Dan Havey with CF Ninja Hacks, and on this morning's FBC call, there was a question a gal had about how could she basically create an FAQ but have it essentially be side by each like you see here on my screen. Now, normally you'd have your question and then you'd have your answer underneath it, and sometimes you can do accordions on it and that. But in this case here, she wanted to be able to click on these different questions over here and then have the answers populate over here to the right. And so let me show you how we got this set up, and then I will show you the big problem that it creates and then how to fix that. So what we had here is we had a big section, full width section here. We had a 2-column row inside of it. On the left-hand side, I just threw in some elements here, a headline and whatnot. And then down here, these are all buttons right here. And we just come in and we take out the background color, we take out the padding, or not the padding, we take out the borders, shadows, anything like that. So it's just a flat thing here. I mean, we could have done this with a text element as well, except it would not have the one functionality that we need in here, which is the hide show, even though eventually what you will see is we actually don't even use the hide part of it because it creates a problem. So then on the right-hand side here, we have a column. And what we did with the column is we just came in and we left the border around it. That's what she had. And Greg was right when he said, oh, let's just leave the border around the column and swap out what's inside of it. So we just have a border here to shadow and some corners around the column itself. But then inside of here, what we did is we put in another section. And let me show you how you can do that very simply. You just come in here, and where we saw here said add an element, you come over here and you can just click here on show all the elements, or you can just start typing in section or something, and we can come to our sections and we can put an entire section, a green section that's normally the width of the page. We can put that anywhere on the page now, and it's no longer a beta feature. It's actually a good ready to go feature in ClickFunnels, and it works great. So we can just put in a section. Now you're going to come down here and you see now we got a section right here, and then we can populate it. We can put in a 2-column row if we want. We can put some headline over here. We can put an image over here if we wanted to. And so that's how you would do this. So up here at the top, let me see if I can, anytime you're stuck somewhere and you can't quite get to a section or a row or something, just click on something inside of it and then come up here and follow the breadcrumbs back. Now we're to the section part right there. We can come down to the bottom and we can hit the delete, and now it is gone. So up here in this section, we just did a 1-column row and we put in a headline and some paragraph right there, and then you got to go in and you got to adjust your paddings and stuff like that, so it looks like how you want. For the most part, I took out the padding in here, and so we got a good look to it. So that's all that is. Now you're going to see here I have called this answer 1, and as you can imagine, all the other ones are answer 2, answer 3, answer 4. So we can go into our layout now, and we can easily come down in our layout and we can find answer 1, answer 2, because that is not a data title like it would have been in 1.0. This is actually just it's just called a title, and it's used for the purposes of the layout and anywhere else so that you can see it. It's using the layout, it's using the breadcrumbs, and when you hover over it, so as we hover over this section now, it says answer 1, but as you saw, it also shows out here in the layout, and then also if we go into our settings, we're going to see up here in the breadcrumbs, it shows answer 1 as well. So that way you can always know exactly where you are by giving these elements that title, and again, you can do it with any element. Just come into the code right here, and down here at the bottom, you can change that to whatever you want. So if you want to give this a particular title, instead of just calling it headline, you can call this answer 1 headline or whatever you want to name it. Now, as we're going along here, you're going to say to yourself, well, it'd be simplest if I were doing this to give this then the ID of answer 1, and then the next one the ID of answer 2, or something like that. That starts making it a lot more difficult. Could you do it? Yes. Could you just call them all answer, so give them all an ID of just answer? And the answer to that question is no, because what I have found is if you give different elements, the exact same ID, ClickFunnels will only pick out the very first one of those elements as that ID. So if you have 5 items that all have the same ID, it'll only do what you want. The code will only run on the very first ID that ClickFunnels finds. As it's coming down through the code, the first one it finds, it will trigger on. Everyone else it'll leave alone. And that really goes back to the practice in writing code to begin with, that you should never have the same ID on more than one element. And so somehow or another in their code, it appears to actually be honoring that rule, even though it's not a set rule. So what do we do to identify each one of these answers and over here the buttons themselves, because we need to identify them, because we're going to need to throw some code at them. So we're going to come in here under advanced, and we're going to come down here, and in this case here I used an attribute. It's also known as a data attribute because it starts with the word data in the beginning of it. And then also I just use data title like we would in 1.0 just to keep things simple. So data title equals answer 1. Obviously the next one is data title equals answer 2. Then I also did the same thing over here for the button. And in the button, we're going to do the same thing here. Data title equals FAQ1. I could have said FAQ button 1. And then the next one, obviously FAQ2, etc. Now you're saying to yourself, well, why do you have to do that? You can just come in here and just do hide show. So the whole idea is over here on the left-hand side. Let me just bring up number 2 because I didn't really show you this. Boom, we got that there. So we have our answer 1 section here, we have our answer 2 section here, and 3, 4, 5 down below it, and then we just hide 2, 3, 4, and 5 and just show the very first answer as if somebody had clicked on this first question right here. And so the whole idea then is we can come into this button and we can say, okay, when we click on button number 1, we want to show answer 1 and hide 2, 3, 4, 5. When we click on our question 2, we're going to show question or answer 2. When we click on question 2, we want to show answer 2 and hide answer 1, 3, 4, and 5, etc. down the way. So when we come in here and we set that, then we come in and under on click we do show or hide, and we show answer 1 and then we hide, and it says 4 items, and you'll scroll down here, and again, this is nice why we named this now answer 1. Okay, we know we don't want to hide answer 1, but we want to hide answer 2, we want to hide answer 3, 4, and 5, and then you do that for all 5 of these buttons. And when we do that, let's go in here first and hide this. It works just fine. So let me save this and show you what works, except I said it works just fine. It does and it doesn't, because this is what it does. Just watch on the screen here. You see what happens is they have in the code a little bit of a delay and a little bit of a fade in. So as long as this top one is up here, the bottom one can't go into its space because it's still here. It has not completely faded out, or it hasn't been hidden yet. It's still on the page, so it's therefore still taking up space. So you get this really clunky effect like this. And in this case here, that one didn't even turn off. And then here, if you do 1, so let's say we got 5 on the page, and whoops, let's just do 4. We do 4 on the page, and then we do 5, or do 1, and 1 actually goes above the 4 because that's where it is in the order on the page. Well, that looks kind of clunky, and I didn't like that. So what I did is we're going to come in here and we're going to make some changes. We're not going to do the hides anymore. You can leave them in here, actually. It won't cause any problems if you leave them in. So we would take out the hides. And so it's not going to hide anything, and let's just do the first 2 here. We'll take out everything. So anything with the blue check box there, we will undo these. And so now you're saying, well, nothing's going to hide. Well, we're going to hide it using a little bit of code. And that's why I put in these data titles into the answers and into the buttons. Because what we're going to say then is when somebody clicks on any one of these buttons over here on the left, what we want to do is we want to hide all of the answers over here first, and then we'll let the button itself and the hide show the new one here, because there's enough of a delay in there built in ClickFunnels that we can do both. So let me show you the code on that. And I had commented out the one important line right here. So we're going to say here is when somebody clicks on that button, which has the data title equals FAQ-1, but we put an asterisk here. So it's asterisk equals. So it says if the data title contains FAQ, and whenever you're clicking on a button, you're actually really clicking on the anchor text part of the button. So that's why we put this little caret and the A right there to signify we're clicking on an inner part of the button, and that's what's actually triggering it. Then it says on click function. Now, if you coded in other stuff, including 1.0, normally in there we would have said it would just be on click. It would be the data title here, and then it'd just be click function. Okay. In 2.0, it doesn't like that syntax. So what it wants you to do in there, it says on click function. So it's just a different way of writing the exact same code. And then we're just going to say here then is when somebody clicks on one of these buttons that we want to hide all of those answers. So again, we had them called answer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 because I put in the asterisk and the equal sign. Then it says contains answer. So we only put in the answer part, not the dash 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're going to hide all of them. So we're going to save this now. We're going to click on our eyeball once again. And it's always best when writing any kind of code in 2.0 to always open up a new window every time you change the code. You'll get a whole bunch of them up here in your tabs. You just have to delete them because it seems like a lot of times if you go back to an old page and just refresh it, it doesn't pick up the code. So now if I did this all right as I was talking, it should work fine. Now we have it going exactly into place, fades in a little bit, it's got a nice transition. There's nothing bebopping around on the page. So that's what you have to do to get yourself a side-by-side FAQ just like this, and it's pretty cool what it can do. You can obviously put images, you can put anything you want over here because it's a full-blown section that we put in here. So you can put in your content, you can style this however you would like. So that is it. Let me just bring you back here real quick so you can see that code again and just write that down. It's simple. It's basically 2 lines. And so if you got any questions, just let me know.